Good evening, campers, streamers, and babysitters, and welcome to my interview with directors Gary Smart and Christopher Griffiths. Yes, the two gentlemen behind the upcoming Robert Englund documentary, which should be available for all of you today. Yes, we are putting this up on June 6th, also known as Robert Englund Day. So definitely, if you want to celebrate Robert Englund, just put your favorite images, videos, clips, whatever on all your social media with hashtag Robert Englund Day so that we can all celebrate this man's wonderful career together. But yes, this was a wonderful interview. I had a great time sitting down with these two gentlemen and talking about them. This is not the first time we have highlighted these two gentlemen on the channel itself. If you guys do know from way back when we first started, we talked about Pennywise, the story of it. It was a lot of fun to discuss that film, and now to get to talk to the guys behind that film and a few other wonderful horror docs and the upcoming Robo doc. Yeah, this was just a dream come true to get to speak with these two gentlemen. Very kind, very insightful. They gave a lot of great information when it comes to making a documentary. I think that Luke and I are huge fans of these horror docs. I mean, it's really tough for us to not sit down and just love hearing all the behind the scenes stories, getting to know a little bit more about all these horror slashers that we love so much. And I had a great time talking it up with these gentlemen. So without further ado, I'm going to just cut right to the interview and then you'll see me here in just a few. So enjoy my conversation with Gary Smart and Christopher Griffith.
Alrighty, guys. Well, hey, I'm here. I have a fantastic interview for us here. Obviously, with the upcoming anticipation of the recent Robert Englund doc, Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares, Robert Englund Story, we have the directors here of this fantastic doc, Mr. Gary Smart and Christopher Griffith. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. And yeah, we were big fans of your Pennywise doc from last year. We just started our channel up around that time, and we got to check it out. So it was really exciting finding out that you guys have not only this, but also a Robo doc hitting Screambox later this year as well. So, you guys are really killing it with these documentaries recently. So I got to give you guys mad props for that, as well as just over the weekend here, you guys just took home an award at the Chainsaw Awards. So congratulations on that. How does that feel?
That's amazing. We're really, really proud of it. I think just to get some recognition from Fangoria and obviously the fans who voted for it. It wasn't just obviously Fangoria's fans voting. Just it's a testament to Chris and John's hard work. So yeah, brilliant.
Absolutely. And I was in that pool. I voted for Pennywise. I thought it was that documentary of the year. So yeah, that was awesome. But my first question for both of you, obviously we're talking about Robert Englund here. He has this amazing, illustrious career, and your documentary goes over every inch of it very thoroughly, very beautifully. I'm absolutely obsessed with horror docs when they go really deep into someone's personal life and just how all that transpired for them, because obviously I am a filmmaker who would like to hopefully be there one day, whether it's docs or feature filmmaking. So seeing somebody that I admire, seeing their story, it's inspiring. How did this all start for you guys? Like, what was the first initial Robert Englund meeting like? Was this something where you guys were like, we met him, we talked, and then we were like, we should do a documentary on him? Or was this something like, you met him, got to meet him, everything was cool, and then decided, let's tell his story?
No, we built up the courage to approach him, and we shit ourselves about doing it, because we obviously done documentaries before. Leviathan, the story of Hellraiser, and Brewster and Pennywise, and Chris and I discussed for a long time about doing a biography on somebody. And obviously the number one person for us was always going to be Robert. He's the ultimate horror icon. He's definitely there, obviously, with Lugosi and Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. So I attended a convention in Germany, and he was there, and I just couldn't pluck up the courage to go and ask him. My friend Mikey was there as well, so we even arranged to meet in the hotel bar where Robert was, and then he just came in, was mobbed by people, and then vanished. And then when I was driving home from Germany to the UK, Mikey messaged me and said, "Oh, Robert, we're having a meal with Robert tonight. You're invited." And I was like, "I'm driving home," literally. So that never happened. So then, obviously, I put the courage to write to Nancy, who's Robert's wife, and it was a normal kind of like cliched, heartfelt kind of email, but it was all genuine about obviously how I love for Robert, and obviously how me and Chris had this idea, and obviously, of course, Adam, who's our company director, about celebrating Robert's career as well as just obviously the Freddy franchise, and it was more about the man around, you know, that franchise and going beyond the glove and beyond the fedora. And then we got a notification back from Nancy saying Robert wanted to talk to us, which was obviously surreal, absolutely. And Robert phoned, and basically we had a conversation, and Chris may interject in a second about what conversation took place, but then that just kind of like set the ball rolling, and Robert had kind of ideas what he wanted, but we were on the same page, weren't we, Chris, in terms of Robert?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and Chris, did you have a little part of that you wanted to jump in on?
I see Gary like, go on, Chris, your part. I'm like, I think, yeah, I'm stealing Gary's story here, but I say it better, so let's just go with that. No, the mandate was really, I mean, like, you know, I'm sure there's going to be numerous people going like, well, I know this is bad to put it, but we've already had a Nightmare on Elm Street documentary, and it's like, no, this is not a Nightmare on Elm Street, and that was kind of the prerequisite for Robert, really, and to sort of showcase his generosity. Even though he's already probably talked about that film to death, he was willing to do an interview with us about Freddy Krueger. I mean, what you could possibly talk about now that's not already been said is, you know, limited. So his mandate was he would happily sit down and do an interview if it was Freddy Krueger based, or if we talk about his career as a whole, we get like full access to him. You know, we get multiple interviews. We'll get access to his archive materials. So it was a no-brainer. And I don't think we ever had intention of just doing something about Freddy, because Mike Perez, that Gary had mentioned before, was part of Never Sleep Again documentary. Okay. And God knows I've watched that thing enough times and think, yep, there's not much more you can say here. So yeah, it was always our intention to cover his career as a whole.
That's great. And, you know, one of the big questions that I had to ask you guys here, just as, like I said, being an aspiring filmmaker, being interested in, you know, even doing docs surrounding this genre that we love, hopefully eventually in the future, I need to know, like, what is your process like when you start out on a journey like this? Because in my research, I kind of found that, you know, these last few that we've gotten from you guys all kind of seem to be working in tandem with each other over the years. It's like you guys kind of have some overlap here. So what is it like assembling all of this footage and, you know, getting these interviews? Is it kind of like, you know, you get the ball rolling and then one thing turns into another, or is there like a clear-cut process that you guys have as far as like, we're going to get this person, we're going to get that person?
I'll give a nice little short tee up for Gary. I'll just say this: it's bloody exhausting.
Yeah,
but Gary, you can elaborate.
I mean, our plan was always kind of simple. It started really well with Leviathan and Fright Night. It was literally, we do one doc, you know, we go pre-production, post-production, and then when that doc is just about to come out, we start pre-production on the next one. So it's literally a yearly thing, and that worked brilliantly. You know, it actually worked with Leviathan and Bruce. It was a 2-year period, and 2 docs came out simultaneously, so it was great. When we got to RoboDoc, it obviously only tended to be one film only, you know, and very limited, you know, cast members. It's going to be about 15-20 people, like our first couple of docs were. They ended up being over 100 people and covering the whole franchise, and the whole franchise being obviously the 3 films plus the TV series plus the comic books. So that kind of snowballed and and at the same time, we'd already planned to do Pennywise, so we were committed to that, and we had everything set up for it on our original model. So then Pennywise happened just at the same time, but actually Pennywise helped us because we were filming Pennywise interviews as well as then filming pickups for RoboDoc. You know, we went to Canada and shot some stuff for the TV series, so that kind of fit nicely. And then it was all working great, you know, and the plan was obviously then to start releasing. We had some hiccups regards to some kind of technical issues regards to Pennywise, which delayed us. So some kind of frame rate issues, which obviously no one will ever notice now, but at the time it was absolutely ridiculous to try and fix. Now it'd probably be easy fixing a click of a button, probably not. But back then it was very difficult to do. So that delayed us. And then we started moving obviously into becoming, I hate to use the word professional, but a more of a professional company as opposed to doing it from, you know, from our kind of like independently. We started obviously having distribution deals coming in. We hired a sales agent and a post-production producer. We had lots of debates and arguments about length of documentaries. And then what happened then is obviously Robert thing came up and we kind of couldn't really say no at the time for it, because once Robert said yes to us, it was like, shit, no one else has done this. We've got to do it. So our models overlap massively. And the only thing that's really helped us, there's two major things that have helped us. One was quite a devastating thing for most people, which was COVID, because it allowed us to have some bit more freedom to actually sit down and rejig and restructure things. And actually the hiring Lawrence Gornall and Hank Stars, because we had those to come on board. As much as we hated him at the start and we would argue, and we've had many I've been in the room before and Chris has been having an absolute bout of an argument, and I've had many arguments online with them and obviously on the phone. But actually what they did, they really kind of push us into this real structured approach regards to documentaries, and obviously then having to do post and QC very professionally. And then once we got Screambox on board, it all started moving fast. So yeah, I mean, it's our model isn't the model to use at all.
Were you going to say it's a shit show? Please say you were going to say it's a shit show. Our models are
yeah. I've gone grey because of it. Chris is going grey a little bit, I think, and then we've argued and we've had kind of massive tantrums and fights over it. But it's brought us closer together as well. So it's not a great model. Our new model is great. You know, and obviously the whole thing about Kickstarters and campaigns doesn't really help when you are moving more the professional distribution and official distribution. It doesn't help when you're doing it very independent. You can do what you want regards to distribution in terms of obviously Kickstarter campaigns and whatnot. We lose control a little bit, but we have to lose control to actually gain funding.
In retrospect, though, one of our biggest flaws was thinking that we had enough money to make these things.
Yeah.
So we were naive. I mean, with Leviathan, we got it over the line with about 20-odd thousand, maybe 25,000 pounds. With the Fright Night documentary, maybe just a little bit more. That kind of worked out. As soon as we started getting to like Robodoc, and that thing just turned into a fucking behemoth. And now how much has been put in since? We've never earned any money from these documentaries still to this moment, because we still got our full-time jobs. But yeah, I'm starting to learn. I mean, especially when you see how do I put this, other Kickstarters out there that have made like that amount of money. You know, we're talking, that hundreds of thousands. That's when you start to go, oh shit, okay, maybe we needed more money, but we made do with what we had. We've just now kind of adopted, I mean, to be honest, Screambox has basically been our saving grace to actually see projects come through, and even more so, kind of legitimize them in a way. So I think we might have had the odd nomination in the past for like the previous documentaries. The sort of the legitimacy kind of extended as far as they all ended up on the Blu-rays of the film. So that's like hey, it's the official one. But now to have them kind of coming out independently, properly marketed and everything like that has been fantastic. But we're just in a kind of a transitional period at the moment, which is not a couple weeks, not even a couple months. It's probably a good year or two where we've got to kind of see through what existed, get it out in the best way possible. Obviously, do our best to appease all the backers, which you do get some people who are quite vocal about, calling us con artists, and yet, oh look, we're showing you what we've actually made. So yeah, it's transitional, but it has been an absolute rush since about 2020, I think. Like Gary said, COVID in a way, where we almost just had that moment to reflect, restart, get some professionals in just to help us kind of like see these things through. So yeah, it's just been mad.
That's fantastic. I love hearing all of that information because like I said, one of the things I try to push on the channel is just that us being aspiring filmmakers, I love to get in the heads of you guys and just see where does this all start, because it's like watching these things, seeing them all come together, they're so well done, and you just think these guys had to have just been cool, calm, collected, had a plan from the start, but really, you guys are just like us, where it's like we're all just figuring it out.
We are.
Like the beauty of it is there's so much heart and soul in your guys' documentaries at the end of it, and I really see that in Robert's here, especially just getting to see him just gush about like his career, and you see that passion come through. I think that's one of the huge highlights of this doc from you guys. One of the questions I had for you, just getting into it, obviously we all love Freddy Krueger. I mean, coming from the horror space, that's kind of obvious when it comes to Robert Englund. When you guys approached this, did you guys have, like, obviously maybe some other roles that you liked from Robert, but when you guys got into the nitty gritty, started going through the films, I assume you go through the films as you're making these, kind of getting re-educated on it. Were there any films that you maybe never saw or just like only saw once that really struck you and impacted you afterwards?
Oh, me first? Okay.
Yeah, you can go first.
It's interesting. I mean, the thing I always knew about, like, his 70s stuff, which I know a lot of people are not going to have known. So I've always been a fan of Stay Hungry because I'm a big Schwarzenegger fan. And God almighty, what a disappointment that was as an 8-year-old watching a drama set in Alabama about affluent people in a gym or whatever. I knew that stuff. To be honest, the one I hadn't seen, which I ultimately really enjoyed, there's a couple, to be honest. It was kind of the 2000 stuff. 2001 Maniacs, which I think we got a really good story, in particular having Tim involved on that as well. Tim O'Sullivan really helped. So I really enjoyed that. And I dare say I feel really nostalgic now watching a film like 2001 Maniacs, because it's like, shit, that's 20 years ago. And so, you know, the fact I hadn't seen it all these years, I really enjoyed it. And I love Lynn Shay as well. So she's fantastic. And actually, Andy Palmer's film, Funhouse Massacre, was surprised, like, really good, like really witty. And again, he was great. So I kind of knew majority of what he had done, but at the same time, to be able to dive into him and watch him, and the Disney ones, actually, that's another one. I didn't realize he had done a Disney phase. And then you go and watch a film with him, Frank Booth from Blue Velvet, Dennis Hopper, and poor old Paul Walker was in it. And it's just like, oh, fucking hell, I didn't even know he'd done a Disney film. 3 of them. So I've only watched the one, I admit that. But yeah, that was kind of a bit of a surprise for me.
Awesome. And Gary, for you?
I think for me, it was more because I'm very much a horror fan. You know, I love horror, like most of us probably do. But for me, it was obviously looking at the films before, you know, when you're looking at, like, you know, Buster and Billy and Chris's Stay Hungry and Big Wednesday. It was kind of like seeing Robert in a completely different role where he's not this kind of like, I mean, he's still got he's still charismatic. He's still got his twinkle in his eye, but yeah, he's playing the sidekick and he's playing, you know, the co-star. And to see that journey of a career just progress, and then once we hit V and then we hit Elm Street, it just blossoms. So that was great for me as a fan of Robert's career. I loved that stuff, you know, as Chris said, from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, what he's in. I watched everything I ever, you know, anything with Rob Englund in on VHS or, you know, or on streaming or anything like that, or DVD and Blu-ray, I would go and watch. But I didn't go backwards. We had to go backwards on this, and it was a great experience, I think, really.
Fantastic. Well, that's all the time I have for you guys. Thank you so much for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we're definitely going to get our review out for your doc here as soon as the embargo lifts. But great job, guys. Thank you so much. And I hope to talk to you again in the future.
And best of luck as well, mate, for your endeavors. Just do it. But trust me, you know what? You're going to get stressed, but it's worth it in the end. Just keep it. If you keep your teeth gritted, knuckle down. It's worth doing, mate.
Again, thank you, gentlemen, so much for taking the time to speak with me. Yes, for those of you who didn't know, I had to do this while I was at work in my car, just because, you know, they're over in the UK, so timetables had to line up, but I am committed for you guys. But no, I had a wonderful time talking with them. It was a really fun conversation, as you can see. You know, we talked about just Robert Englund and all the horror doc stuff in general. Seriously, 2 very talented gentlemen, and I hope to speak with them again, maybe even longer, so we can get a little bit more into those nitty-gritty details of what the day-to-day working on a doc like this is like. But yes, if you guys have not yet seen it, again, it is available on Screambox, and I want to take this time to thank the folks over at Screambox for getting this all set up for us. Of course, if you do not have a Screambox subscription, what are you doing? We do have a link down in the description for you guys, so that way you guys can make that happen. It's super affordable, and for what you're getting, I mean, it's absolutely worth it if you are a horror fan. You know, we've highlighted a lot of their films, and of course, as long as these 2 gentlemen will be producing documentaries for Screambox, we'll be reviewing them. So yeah, other than that, we do have a lot of great stuff on the channel right now. Lots of fun reviews. You know, we do have another Screambox exclusive review with our Subspecies Blood Rise review, as well as the most recent horror film in theaters right now, The Boogeyman. So definitely check those out. And yeah, I guess that about wraps it up for me. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell, And remember, stay scared.